First Watch with Sheriff Mark Daniels on KWCD Bisbee Sierra Vista. Hosted by Public Information Officers Carol Kappas and Grady Butler. First Watch is brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative.
And a big shout out and thank you to Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative for sponsoring the show. We really appreciate everything they do. I'm Grady Butler, and with me is Carol Kappas, Public Information Officer with the Sheriff's Office, and Sheriff Mark Daniels. Good morning.
Good morning, Cochise County.
Hello, everyone.
Well, let's start with Sun Sites. You were in Sun Sites last night for a community meeting.
It was, and let me thank all the folks from Sun Sites. Man, I tell you, that's one well-knitted community. They all come out. They all support. They were out there last night, and for their annual meeting, the fire chief spoke, I spoke, county spoke. They're going to put some sidewalks over there in front of their business alley there coming into town, and so the county is. It was a good meeting, and people had good questions, very embracing. But it's nice to refresh those kind of conversations because at the end of the day, that's who we work for. And but it was a good meeting. We gave them updates on all our efforts and our regional efforts. The border obviously being a hot topic, a lot of questions there, and. I asked the question last night. I said, how many veterans are in the room? Boy, I bet 40-50% of the people were former military. So we gave them a shout out and applauded them for their service to our country. But, yeah, I got home late last night, but I tell you, it was worth every minute being down there.
And it was really busy all week with a lot of different things going on. Yeah. But one of the major things that we posted yesterday was about animal cruelty, an animal cruelty case. And it's unfortunate, but the question did come up about Jill Houchins, who was arrested. And she was, in fact, one of our former employees, animal control officer, 6.5 years ago. So that was a question that we addressed right up front.
Well, it is. We're going to be transparent. We have nothing to hide here. We didn't do anything wrong. The one that did wrong is sitting in our jail on 100 counts of animal cruelty, neglect, issues like that. And just because somebody works for an agency doesn't mean there was a crime or an issue then. 7 years later, almost, there is a crime, and we have addressed it. I mean, this call came in as a neglect, cruelty call. Our animal control, our deputies went out there. The investigation led into a search warrant. Search warrant led into finding some dead dogs, some very sad situation for living conditions for animals, and I mean, you name it. And so we took the appropriate steps, indicative of 100-some charges that she sits in our jail right now, rightfully so. And it's just sad. And I was answering some emails last night and from people, and people, it wasn't mean at all. In fact, they were thanking us for doing the right thing. And that's what this is all about. I mean, nobody's above the law, and whether you work at the sheriff's office, you work in the police department, we're held to an accountable standard. And in fact, I believe if you work for law enforcement, you're held to a higher one, or a fire department. I mean, we're role models in a community. And so this is a sad situation. I feel bad for those animals, but I'm proud of our criminal justice system here. I'm proud of the men and women to do the right thing here. And we're going to hold her accountable like anybody else. So any speculation behind that, that's not on us.
And turning to something that's exciting for some and sad for others is a retirement at the Cochise County Sheriff's Office. Jake Karchner.
Yeah, it's so surreal. We work our careers, and Jake spent 20 years with us. I remember we hired him. His brother Adam still works for us. And Karchner, very popular name. I mean, especially in the Benson-St. David area. Jake sits on the St. David School Board. But we had his retirement luncheon yesterday, and Jake, the best word you can describe Jake, and I said this last night in Sun Sites too, we recognized him down there, he was there, is the word genuine. He's a very genuine guy. What you see with Jake is what you get. He doesn't change his personality, his appearance to make anybody happy. It's him, who he is. He's grew up in a ranching community here. He worked over the last 12 years. I signed him to a ranch liaison program with us, him and one other deputy. And let me tell you, he just built that program and brought that partnership in between the agricultural world to the sheriff's office, built up the communication, and just built that respect and gave them some value. If you're a rancher, farmer, and you need some, Jake and his partner were just, Mike McGoffin was his partner at the time, and now we have Jesse. But we're going to miss him. Let me just say that. We're just going to miss this guy. And I saw him last night at the Sun Sites, and then he called me about 10 o'clock last night, and I was heading home, and he just said, "Thank you, Sheriff, for everything." But truly, thank you, Jake, for being a friend. And he left memories and endless memories, and we're going to see more Jake. I can promise you all that. But thank you, Jake, and thank you, JJ, his wife, for being there for us, too.
And him wrapping up this particular portion of his journey in through life is one thing, but now we have a group that are starting their journey with the CTE kids. There were 50 kids coming to our facility on Wednesday. They did all kinds of things to show them what law enforcement is like. I saw flags. They were holding the flags. They were doing runs. They were, hoo-ah. They were doing a really good job. So I think it's important that people understand that we start them young and hopefully add some mentoring in with them. And if we are fortunate enough to get them to join our organization, they can stay through the end of their career for this particular part of their life.
The CTE program, which we've been a big partner, working with Tina and the program and the superintendent, to ensure that these kids are understanding law enforcement, working with law enforcement, and working those relationships and partnerships and building trust with us. We're just not somebody who wears a costume like on Halloween. We wear this all year long, and this is our function, this is our purpose. But I just applaud these CTE programs, whether it's nursing, whether it's fire or law enforcement, but it's been very positive. And we had the kids coming from Buena High School CTE. Coach Keel has been around forever. He retired juvenile probation officer, runs that program over there, and he brings the kids down every year. And they were down there, and sadly I missed them this year because I had to be in Phoenix. But again, it's just a cool thing. And they just found out they have a new dispatch simulator over at Buena High School, the CTE. In fact, he just sent me an email last night saying, hey, we want to get some of our kids looking at community dispatch, future CCOM employees. So I send that to Tammy Jo and Melissa, who are the two supervisors over at CCOM. So once again, speaking of CCOM, there comes Tammy Jo walking in the door here. Good morning, Tammy Jo. But long story short is, so they got this new simulator when a lot of people are interested in becoming dispatchers. So what a step in the right direction for a career in public safety. And as I've said it, and our success has come from this, hiring our homegrown, those that grew up here and want to stay here, I tell you, the retention value in that is incredible. So thank you for Keel and the team over there.
And keeping with the kids segue here, we've got Cars for Kids coming up, which is a great fundraiser for the Boys and Girls Club of Sierra Vista and FOP.
It is. Fraternal Order Police puts that on. Our public safety partners from fire, police, Fort Huachuca, everybody, we come together, and this is a big event where you can enter your cars. It's over at Cal Ranch, Hobby Lobby on April 6th. You can register the day of the event. The problem is if we sell out, it's like 300 cars, obviously then we won't have space. But you can pre-register through the Boys and Girls Club too. But we put this on for them, for the kiddos over at the Boys and Girls Clubhouse to help their programs. And then FOP gets a portion of that to help with their outreach programs to our scholarship programs and also our community outreach for grants and helping kids. So it's just a cool thing. Come on out. We have raffles, we have auctions, you name it. We got it going on that day. But it's a free event for people to come look at the cars. And it's really cool to see some of these old cars. That's something that people just love, and I do too.
And one of the things that you're also doing with schools, and you have a meeting today, is the NTAC training for schools, which is the National Threat Assessment Center, which is the training for schools. And you've been invited to speak at that.
Yeah, 10 o'clock this morning at the Rothery Center on Fry Boulevard. There, Jackie Clay, school superintendent here in Cochise County, has put this on. And this is training for assessment when it comes to threats, upgraded training. So I'll be doing the opening at 10 o'clock this morning. Thank you, Jackie, for that opportunity. But there's, I think, 100, 200 people attending this, educators, community leaders. Again, this all goes back to how we can protect our kiddos. And it's, again, another positive program here. I got to say, and I said this last night at the meeting too in Sunsites, know your community elected leaders. When you wake up, you're dealing with community. When you go to bed, you're dealing with community. And make sure those elected leaders are working for that community. Not themselves, but the communities they serve. And I think it's so important. I know there's a lot of talk and frustration, division. I call it the political shell game up there where things aren't getting done. Well, let's not break that down here at the community level. Let's make sure we got people in office. We're in election year. People in office that you know them, ask them the hard questions. If they don't give you the answers you want, then make a decision from there. So, again, I'm excited to be speaking at this morning.
I was very happy to see Deputy Oletsky at the office this week.
I saw him at the retirement yesterday, Grady, at Jake's retirement. I spent a little time with him, and there's a group out of Tucson, so I don't forget, that's coming down on March 2nd. So former law enforcement group that's going to recognize Chris. They're going to do it over in Sonoyta to do that. I'm going to try to make it over there. I know if not, some of my team will be over there. I told Chris yesterday about this, but Chris came back to light duty. And I'm not surprised. I don't think anybody in this room is surprised in the fact that he's such a competitor. He is. He's a competitor of life, man. I mean, you want something to inspire you, go spend a few minutes with him. I mean, he went through a harrowing incident, maybe some of the people listening this morning, where he was almost killed here last year. But he's fought back to get back on light duty. And I asked him yesterday, I said, what do you think? You think I can get back full time? Oh, I'll be back, sure. And he goes, my doctor just holding me back. Not him, the doctor. So he will. There's no doubt in my mind. Him and his wife, Nicole, what a sweetheart. I see him back here in a few months. But in the meantime, he's going to come back. He's going to do some administrative stuff for us, help us out in some operational things. We just can't use him in enforcement role until he's cleared by a doctor. So, Chris, welcome back. We're proud to have you.
And one of the things that you were also doing this week, or our office was doing this week, was Senator Sinema was in town.
Yeah, we had a round table. I could not make that when I was notified, and I told Bianca from her office, I said, listen, I'm already in Phoenix that day. I chair the Post Police Officer Standing and Training, and that's my monthly meeting. I just can't miss those. But I sent my Tom Lee, my chief of staff, and one of my commanders, Kenny Bradshaw, down there to be at that round table to make sure we're there. It's about a 30-minute meeting is what they had, and Ann English was there from the board, Mayor Huey from Douglas, and a few other ones. But just to address this, and boy, the topic that they shared with me, and I talked to Senator Sinema. I asked to talk to her before the meeting, so we talked when I was in Phoenix, was the fact that this Senate bill that just failed at the House. I mean, you got H.R. 2 that failed the year before, you got this one that failed, and vice versa. They're not working well. And when they don't work well, guess what? The communities suffer. And that's truly the impact we're dealing with down here. This is an international federal border. They need to fix it. And I said it on a media source this week. I'll say it here. They need to get their act together. They truly need it. They were elected to lead and protect people. And right now, it's every day that goes by, I keep saying this, a life has changed, and it's not a good one. So a good change is what I'm talking about there. So it went well, though, the meeting. And so we will see where it goes from there. Senator Kelly called me last night. I'm going to call him back this morning and see what's going on with that. But our senators got to engage with our communities. And that's a big message I continue to say. Just because you work for the federal government, don't forget who you work for. And that's every citizen in every community. And when you forget that, when the target's off, you're going to be in problems. And that's, I mean, we knew nothing about the bill coming out until like 48 hours till they announced it. By that time, where are we at? And we try to get some engagement with sheriffs, but it just didn't get any traction because of some of the issues. But long story short is we have to work together. So I push it really hard, whether it's state, local, and federal. But that's the key to success.
And the AG is coming down today.
Chris Mays, the Attorney General, will be here in town. She's going to Sunsites, I believe, at 3 o'clock today for a water meeting down in Sunsites at their community centers, open to the public. But I got invited to that. I was in Phoenix, like I said, Wednesday, and I was asked if I was going to be there. And my team will be there out there. I'm going to do my best. I got to go to Wilcox tonight for another event. So, again, I'm going to try to swing by there and see how that meeting goes. But I'll just tell you, water is gold here. Start talking about water and watch the emotions, and people get very, very sensitive. Obviously, it's like oxygen. We need it. We got to have water, got to have oxygen. So this will be an interesting meeting tonight, and I know these water debates continue here in the West to include Cochise County.
Another thing that's going to be headlined soon probably is street releases in Cochise County. Where are we at with those right now?
Well, let me give you a little stat on that. Since May 8th of 2023 till February 20th of 2024, we've had 707 buses coordinated through Dan Deshawn, our emergency service coordinator. He's done a very, very good job, along with the state of Arizona, the governor's office, in coordinating these buses. Now, people say, well, we can't do the buses. Well, here's the issue with that. These are people, this is where I get I call it the fracture of wisdom by the federal government. And I'm not being mean when I say that, but it sounds mean. I get it. But you're taking people that have crossed the border illegally in other parts, not Cochise County. You put them on Border Patrol buses, federal buses, and you bus them to Cochise County. You take our Border Patrol agents off the border, the limited ones we have left here, take them off the border to process. Then they're processed, which means they legally can be here because they got that little piece of paper, and then they drop them in our communities. And they didn't cross here in Cochise County. So we become responsible. I think it was first part of January, we had 35,000 plus street releases in Cochise County since May. So I'd imagine we're pushing 40,000, somewhere in there right now. I mean, we're dropping. Yet last night it was 72. Yesterday it was 72. The day before it was 100 and some. That adds up quickly. It truly adds up quickly. So, again, that funding that funds the NGOs, national government organizations that work with CBP through FEMA, that funding is no more on March 31st. So I've talked to the governor's office this week. I've talked to CBP leadership this week. I've talked to Senator Sinema this week. I'll say to Senator Kelly this morning, we have to do something different. Don't bring him here. At bottom line, we have adequate resources to address our population and our guests. Add in close to 40,000 people in a community in 8 months and saying, hey, it's all your problem. That's not even reasonable. So common sense has been lost in that thought. So I keep saying, secure the border, we won't have this problem. And so again, we'll see where this goes. We got about a month to address this, but this is going to be, if this doesn't change, this is going to be a hot topic. And I'm hearing it from the citizens. It's already out there that, what are you going to do, Sheriff? We need to man up everybody in the county. Well, let's not panic. Let's be smart about this. I mean, but when you leave people, thousands of people on the streets for survival, that doesn't paint a good picture for anybody. And that's the best our government can do. We're in trouble.
And there's some sad news we have to report. Our Board of Supervisor, Peggy Judd, her husband passed away, and we wanted to make sure she knew that we were thinking about her and her family.
Yeah, thanks, Carol. And Kit Judd, which is Peggy's a Board of Supervisor. Her husband passed away last Friday, I believe it was. I talked to Peggy a few days before that, just checking on her, and she's got a lot going on, no doubt about it. We had a good talk, and she knew Kit was not doing well. He went into hospice, and then Friday, of course, he passed. And so I know she's going through a lot. Viewing for Kits tonight in Wilcox at 6 p.m. Up at the church up there, so I'll be heading up there tonight. And again, it's just, life is short. Life is complicated. It can be more complicated based on decisions, but at the end of the day, I mean, that's her loved one. So I know Kit a long time too, and but God bless him. God bless all the Judd family, and we're thinking of you, Peggy.
And what is your stop of the week this week?
Unique stop. Let me just say two things. Let me start off with I was in Graham County the other night with the fentanyl. So 5 sheriffs came together, and we did a presentation on fentanyl. And it was well attended. It was up at the Safford High School gym. I mean, it was packed. I was really impressed that the community came out and to hear 5 sheriffs talk. But I want to give you, people talk about fentanyl, where we've been. A lot of people go, what is fentanyl? Where did fentanyl come from? Well, fentanyl is made by the criminal cartels out of Mexico. The cursors to put together come out of China. And then they put together and then they ship it across at record numbers. Right now we're seeing record numbers of fentanyl coming across. In 2020, we had just under 4 million fentanyl pills seized on the southwest border. In 2021, we had just under 9 million fentanyl pills. In 2022, we had 114 million fentanyl pills seized on the southwest border. Sad to report, Arizona leads the stat. In Arizona, which leads it, we had 68 million fentanyl pills seized. And out of the 68 million, which is the most of any state, I think the next California, which is like 38 million. I mean, we're just really taking charge on this one. Out of the 68 million seized in Arizona, 35 million were seized in the 4 border counties in Arizona. So it tells you the impact we're seeing just on the drugs, and I call that poison, that based on all the deaths. So why we're not talking more about this, it amazes me. So that's what we talked about up in Graham County. I will just say this to you too, is we have to have this war on drugs talk. We have to address these criminal cartels that are killing Americans every day. That is getting worse and worse, and that's something we spoke about. It was well received the other night, and we're going to continue doing what we have to do. And that goes back to a secure border. I'll just throw that out there. But Wednesday, I was leaving to go to Phoenix, and I pulled in a Circle K to get my Polar Pop. Everybody knows me on that. My Polar Pop, and I got out of my patrol car. It's unmarked, and I'm in uniform, and this young man walked up, and he's about 20, 21, and he goes, "Are you a cop?" And I said, "Yeah, kind of." And he goes, "I think these people in the car need your help." I said, "Show me what you mean." So he took me over this car. It was running next to the gas pump, and there were two people in there. I didn't even see the driver. She was a small-statured female at the driver's side, and then a male. They're both slumped over. And so I started knocking on the window. Nothing. Knocking again. Nothing. It's obviously they were out. And sad to say, based on experience, this is usually a fentanyl. I mean, so they were seeing the light, as people call it. And so I'm beating on the window, and whatever happened, she pulled her head up and looked at me in this, like, gaze. And I'm like, and I'm in uniform. I'm like, roll your window down. And she just looked at me for about 30 seconds. Both of them did. He opened up, looked at me, and they were just totally out of it. And finally got the window down. I called for medics, called for some assistance from law enforcement. She had the fentanyl sitting on her lap. All the kit, all the dope, everything right there. I got the keys, turned the car off, because that's the worst thing you do. And we actually block their cars in, because if they wake up, they take off on you, they panic, then you got a more serious problem. So she had 5. She's not. Both of them were. They're not from Cochise County. They were from Phoenix area. Both of them had. Let me phrase that. She had 5 fugitive warrants for arrest. 2 felonies. I think the other 3 were misdemeanors. I mean, just a bad, sad situation. It's sad on the social side. It's sad on the criminal justice side. But again, and they both admitted doing fentanyl. So they were close to seeing the light. This is stuff we're seeing. Law enforcement sees, fire department see, our dispatchers receive these kind of calls. They're never good calls. But I commended that young man. I said, I want to thank you for being so observant. I mean, he's like 20, 21 to do that. And believe it or not, he saved their lives. He truly saved their lives. And he goes, well, I just think it's wrong. I mean, just nice to see that kind of initiative from a young man. So, again, traffic safety message, let me just say this to you. If you got a plate, and they don't make the plates like they used to, let me say that. These plates fade quicker than they should, in my opinion. But they do. I stopped a car this week up on I-10 and 90 in Benson. The plate was gone. It was a silver tag, a silver piece of metal on the back of this vehicle. And I stopped it, and she was, yeah, it's my mom's car. I know the plate's gone. Folks, that's illegal. You got to have a legible plate. You can't have covers on it either. People put covers on plate. That is illegal in the state of Arizona. So make sure your plate's legible. You can go online and get a new one. Go to MVD and get a new one. It's like $12. But trust me, you got to have a legible plate, and it's for your protection. If your vehicle is stolen, when we're looking for it, we got to be able to read that plate.
Coming up next, we're going to hear from Sheriff Quattrone from New York. He was down here visiting. Give us a little preamble of his visit this week.
This is part of our Borders to Backyards, and Carol and you are both very much involved in that, where sheriffs and other folks come to Cochise County to see the front line of this battle we're dealing with, things I just talked about for the last 20 minutes. So he came down, just a great guy. I mean, he's outside of Buffalo, New York. As we see New York on the headlines, whether it's they're feeling the impact of this. So he wanted to come down and see this. I met him through national sheriffs a couple of times, but he spent a couple of days riding with our guys. He's leaving today. He's going to jump on here with us in a minute for update everybody. But thanks, Sheriff, for coming down here. Thanks for sharing. He spoke last night at the Sunsite about why he's here. And but yeah, I keep telling all the sheriffs to come down here. When I retire, their homes are now my vacation destinations. So I will see him here in the future here again. So thank you, Sheriff, for coming here.
First Watch on KWCD Country. It's brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative.
Keeping you up to date, Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative is proud to bring you First Watch,
giving you an inside look into your sheriff's office. I'm Grady Butler, and with me is Carol Kappas, Public Information Officer with the Sheriff's Office. And our next guest is from New York. It's Sheriff Quattrone. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Grady.
You're here to visit the border and see what's going on here. But before we get to that, tell us a little bit about your county and where you're from in New York.
Sure. We are Chautauqua County, which is the far west county in New York State. We are bordered by Pennsylvania on our west and our south side, and then Lake Erie on our north, which is a border with Canada. We've started to encounter some issues due to the individuals coming across the northern border. Having a chance to be a part of the National Sheriff's Association and meeting your sheriff at the conferences, hearing him speak, I inquired about coming down to the southern border to see firsthand what was going on.
What were you expecting, and then what did you actually see?
To be honest with you, I wasn't sure what to expect. I had heard about the border wall. really had no idea what that was going to look like. Heard about many of the terms that are often used in New York are the illegal immigrants coming across, and I had no idea what to see. I pictured many coming over from Mexico, and which I'm finding is probably few and far between anymore. So upon arriving here, I think the first thing that surprised me or was a shock was just seeing the wall itself, and also seeing where the work on the wall had stopped. And just to walk along that wall, walk beyond that, and see in the field where individuals are walking across and leaving their carpet shoes, and seeing the trash and the litter that is left along the way, and seeing the distances that people will travel to try to get into the United States was eye-opening for me. And the great opportunity I had to talk with the different members of the Cochise Sheriff's Office, and hearing some of the issues that they're facing, and which are spreading throughout the United States. I imagined seeing people just staying right here in Cochise County or staying right along the border, and finding that the majority of those individuals are being taken up to Phoenix and then beyond throughout the United States, and finding out why we're finding them in Chautauqua County, New York.
So what are you taking back to New York with you that you found here?
I think the big thing is to let the residents of my county, Chautauqua County, know firsthand what is actually being seen. We've had, again, opportunity not only to speak with law enforcement here, but to some of the citizens in the communities, and hearing how it's impacted them. But then to see that it's not just an immigration policy issue, which it is, but we also have the border security, and to really see that there are lives that are being affected, not only the citizens of the U.S., but those who are trying to cross. And I want to take back and have our citizens in Chautauqua County be aware, be alert, but also be a voice for the whole United States, to be able to share with their congressmen and their senators, and encourage them to work on legislation that can make our community safe.
Well, Sheriff Quattrone, we thank you for coming and taking a look at the border, and we thank you for what you do back in your county in New York.
And thank you for all the help that I've had here. The Sheriff's Office, everybody I've come in contact has been very helpful and informative and professional.
First Watch on KWCD Country. It's brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative.
Now back to First Watch, brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative on KWCD.
And I'm Grady Butler, and with me is Carol Kappas and our next guest.
Welcome back, Cochise County, and thank you so much, Fry Fire Chief Mark Savage.
Good morning.
So tell us a little bit about what you do, who you are.
Well, I'm Mark Savage. I've worked with Fry Fire District for about 30 years. Started out as a part-time firefighter in 1993 to pay for school, and I've been with them ever since. Promoted through the ranks, and I've been the fire chief now since about 2017. One of the best jobs in the world.
So with Fry Fire, we're so excited to have you here. Tell us a little bit, we'll kick it off with, what are some of the cool things that you're doing at Fry Fire right now?
We've got a lot. We've just put some new cardiac monitors into play. These are Philips monitors. They're linked to the cloud. We've got a platform online that anybody with the login can access. What that means is that emergency room doctors, cardiologists can actually pull up the data from our patients and our paramedics in the field real time, and all but look over their shoulder at the treatment that we're providing for patients. It's going to be a game changer for us. It's going to be a game changer for our patients that may need higher levels of acute care down the road, either at the emergency room or in their cardiology cath lab.
And that's like on Squad 51, where you used to see them and they call into the base station and they could do all of that. But like in today's time,
we're still going to call them, but we're also going to tell them, hey, look, you can see what we're doing right now in real time, and being able to access that information from their phone or tablet, wherever those doctors are at in the ER, and actually see what we're looking at in the field with the patient is meaningful. It's going to help them diagnose patients that much sooner, hopefully get them treated sooner. And I'm excited about the interface we've got and support from Sean at Canyon Vista.
Do you have any other programs that are coming up soon?
A whole lot of programs. We just received the grant from the Governor's Office of Highway Safety to fund about 35 car seats. We've got a car seat program. People can go to our website at fryfiredistrictaz.gov and get some information, figure out how to set up an appointment. If you have questions about car seats, whether it's installed, if you can't afford a car seat, or just want to make sure that the car seat that you have hasn't been recalled, we've got experts that people can set up appointments and get that taken care of, thanks to some funding from the Governor's Office of Highway Safety. The other thing that we're working on, and we're kind of coming out of our fuel reduction season, is some grants for fuel reduction. We've been able to hire 5 seasonal employees this year to do fuel reduction work. Right now they're working on some acreage in Carr Canyon, right at the border of the forest and the neighborhood. Yesterday they were working on a prescribed fire in Ash Canyon, but we're funding them with some dollars through the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management that really takes kind of the edge off people who are trying to get some fuel reduction work done and make safer properties for wildfire.
And fuel reduction is prescribed burns. It is also like mowing the lawn. I mean, what is it?
What we're doing, we're not mowing any lawns or doing weed eaters. Our guys are running chainsaws and industrial grade chippers. I mean, they're doing the big, heavy work that's going to change the nature of the landscape for the next few decades. Not doing weed eating. We're going to lose them in about a month because they're going to go back on full-time fire jobs. But then we'll pick them up again, hopefully in September, October.
And so some of the areas that Fry Fire covers include what?
So we cover in the fire district about 60 square miles. That's the unincorporated areas in and around Sierra Vista. The bulk of our fire district is east of Sierra Vista and south. We go south to about Three Canyons Road. That's when it becomes Palominas Fire District. We protect the town of Huachuca City, and then north of that is Whetstone Fire District. So our fire district proper is about 60 square miles. Our EMS area is much broader than that. It's about 250 square miles. So we've got 2 different footprints. One is for fire protection. That's where our tax base is. The other one is for emergency medical services, which is a lot bigger.
And explain to the listeners, what is a fire district?
A fire district is a form of local government that applies its own taxes and runs its own business. We are governed by a nonpartisan 5-member board that's elected from residents within the district. They basically set our budget, set our tax rate, and make sure that we're providing the services to the community that they deserve.
And so a fire district has borders, essentially. So kind of for contrast, give us, you said what you cover versus what Sierra Vista, kind of give us that, who covers what? Well,
there's a mix, right? We've got fire protection from municipalities, city fire departments, fire districts, and then those are paid fire districts. Then there may be some volunteer fire districts as well. There's roughly 20 fire districts across the county. Those are interspersed usually on the outside of municipalities, cities, Sierra Vista, Bisbee, Douglas. And then the rest of the area is actually covered by our incredible partners with Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management. They ultimately have the responsibility for providing fire protection, and 99% of that is brush fire protection to state trust land and private property that's in an unincorporated area. And we've got a lot of the county is rural and uncovered. So a significant chunk of Cochise County is actually protected by Department of Forestry and Fire Management. They don't do structure fire responses. They don't do EMS responses, but they do an absolutely incredible job of wildfire responses.
And something with the structure fire portion of that. If you are living in an area that's not covered by a fire district and your house catches on fire, you need to understand what you need to take the responsibility to understand how you can be covered in the event that happens.
Absolutely, and that touches on probably 3 or 4 different complex issues. One is there's going to be difficulty getting insurance. The other part is absence of fire protection. People that are outside fire districts and other fire protection are uncovered. And I can think of a couple places that we've responded to that are uncovered. Escapole Road area, High Knolls on the north side of Highway 90 east of the San Pedro, and Copper Glance just off of Hereford Road east of the San Pedro. Those are all some unincorporated areas. We've sent apparatus there, but it's not part of our fire district. A lot of times there's a very extended response time, just because even if we come out of the chute when they call 911, it's probably got 15 or 20 minutes worth of drive time. The other thing is there's rarely any significant water supply or additional resources, so we're very limited on what we can do when we do get there because we have maybe a truck or two. A lot of times that's going to be focused on making sure that the fire doesn't spread from whatever the building is involved to other properties, other buildings in the area.
And so, and you could potentially, if that happens, be responsible for some costs incurred. So that's an important thing to look at too.
Absolutely. Our fire responses in our district are obviously covered by fire taxes, but outside we would likely invoice somebody the same rates that we would invoice to state land, which can get pretty pricey if we've got a truck on scene for several hours with a whole bunch of people.
So somebody who is not in one of these incorporated areas or fire districts, what can they do to prepare or get knowledge of in case their structures do catch on fire?
First thing they can do is thank Representative Griffin. She's pushing legislation right now, HB 2012, that renews the Department of Forestry and Fire Management, that keeps them active and ongoing. I think that's a no-brainer to me, but they can thank her for the support that they've got with that legislation. On the prevention side, I think there's really 3 things they can do. They can go to the Firewise, Google Firewise. They can get some pretty good pointers about fuel reduction that they can do around their homes. Everything from construction recommendations, things like a metal roof, limited combustibility materials, to creating a non-combustible space in and around their home. They call for 3 feet. I recommend 5, where you have nothing flammable within 5 feet of your house. That's the first thing that they can do to limit the likelihood of a brush or grass fire catching their house. The other thing they can do is they can go to Ready, Set, Go at ein.az.gov. They've got a program that teaches people about things they can do in the event that they're evacuated, because a lot of these fires we're gonna pull the pre-evacuation Ready, Set, Go or evacuation trigger pretty early to get people out of harm's way, so that we don't have to worry about the threat to life while we're working on the fire. We're going to accommodate a lot lower level of risk if we don't have to worry about life safety than we might otherwise, which means that our firefighters can work in a safer space. The third thing they can do is they can go to the Cochise County site and sign up for the emergency alerts, because early notification means that they can act that much sooner to give us a safe space to work in.
And people that are outside of a district, are they aware of this? Are they blissfully unaware? Where's their status?
I don't know. I would think that they know, and I think that's part of the draw, right? I mean, you live out of town because you don't want to be in town. So I think that they may presume that somebody's going to respond. They may presume that there's some coverage. That's a false assumption. They may not get a response when they need it, which is concerning. But that's where prevention and preparation really can play a key role.
Well, we thank you for coming and talking to us today about fire districts. It was very educational. I've learned a lot, and also thank you for what you do for our community.
Thank you, guys. We've got a bunch of incredible people doing incredible things.
That's Chief Savage from Five Fire. And Carol, who do we have coming in next?
We have Miss Tammy Jo Wilkins.
First Watch on KWCD Country. It's brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative.
Giving you an inside look to your sheriff's office. Let's go back to First Watch on KWCD.
And it's brought to you by Sulphur Springs Valley Electric Cooperative. I'm Grady Butler. With me is Carol Kappas and our next guest.
Welcome back, Cochise County, and thank you so much, Ms. Tammy Jo Wilkins, the Executive Director for CCOM.
Good morning, Cochise County.
So tell us a little bit about what CCOM is. And I know people should know this, but we can't stop talking about it.
No, we can't. I love to remind people what CCOM is. Southeastern Arizona Communications Center. We are the regional dispatch for 911 services here in Cochise County. We service 8 law enforcement agencies and 17 fire and EMS agencies through our dispatch center.
And so one of the things that you are constantly trying to make sure that you have staffing levels. And it's been a struggle since the inception of the center and actually having it open. However, I think you're doing an amazing job. So tell us what your staffing levels should be and where you're at right now.
Right now, our staffing levels should be at 20 full-time staff members. We are at 10 full-time fully trained right now on the console, and we have 5 trainees in a training program as we speak. Our training program is actually on the job, so you don't have to have any background or skills in police dispatching or fire or medical dispatching to come on board. We teach you everything. We walk you through absolutely everything you need to know in our center. You are assigned a trainer. We have 5 trainers on staff, and you are partnered with them from the beginning to the end of your training program.
And kind of walk us through a day in the life of a dispatcher. What do they do?
Right now, we're working 12-hour shifts until we can get staffing up a little bit more of fully trained dispatchers. Basically, the staff comes in, they kind of look at the activities of the night before, they brief each other as to what's going on, and then between all of them that are in the room, they decide who's working what radio frequency for the day. So right now we have 1 dispatcher working Sierra Vista PD radio, 1 dispatcher working the Cochise County channel, which is Sheriff's Office and all of the other law enforcement agencies we dispatch for. And then we have a dispatcher on Fire East and a dispatcher on Fire West. Everybody in the room also is trained and certified to answer all of the 911 and administration lines that come in. And we're certified in priority dispatch. So priority dispatch is the protocols that help us not only get the information needed for the first responders, but gives life-saving advice. Basically, we keep the people on the line and give them some life-saving advice while they're waiting for first responders to arrive. We've actually delivered a baby giving this advice, following these protocols. We have implemented actual CPR instructions a total of 63 times for last year alone, and we see success when we're on the line with some of these protocols.
And that's really important. People sometimes dial in, they have an emergency, and you start asking questions, and the people are not at their best moment. It's their absolute worst moment,
right?
Most of the time. But you have to ask these questions, and it's important. It's not that you're just asking questions and waiting till you get the answers before you do anything. It's that you're simultaneously getting people dispatched while you're getting additional information.
Right.
So that's important for people to know.
Yes, it is. We're asking questions that might seem redundant and mundane to a caller, but it's important because we're sharing the information as soon as we get it with the first responders en route to whatever is happening.
Good. And so you have even new technology coming into the center.
Actually, last July, we upgraded to the Next Gen 911 system. And with that came a lot of new technologies. Right now, we have implemented our smart transcription, which it's basically AI-based. And on every single console in the center, each individual dispatcher is logged into the system, and it transcribes what the dispatchers are saying in addition to what the caller is saying. It took a while for AI to learn our people, but it's working really well. I don't have to be plugged in if I want to hear what's going on. I can just come and read what's going on over somebody's shoulder. The other new technology that we're developing policy on and we should be implementing here soon is called citizen input. This one's pretty exciting. So if there's an active situation going on and the caller wants to be able to provide a visual, dispatch will have the opportunity to send a one-time link to a caller's cell phone. That caller can actually log in or just click on the link, and it live feeds from the caller's location back to dispatch, and then dispatch can live feed that back to the officers or firefighters en route so that they can actually see what's happening at the scene. This will be really handy in the event of an active threat or an active shooter scenario where somebody is there but they can't talk. If they can basically video or live feed back to us so that we can let first responders know what's going on, this is going to be a game changer for response and safety purposes.
You can also text 911 at this point.
Yes, you can. Actually, you could do it before, but the technologies are a lot better now than they were. You can text to 911, especially if you're in a really bad service area or you're in a situation where you really can't make a phone call and actually have a discussion with us. It's a different ringtone when it comes into the center, and everybody's trained in how to respond to that and make sure that we get the proper information to get proper help where it's needed.
And of course, if you have an emergency, you want to dial 911. But
Yes.
what if it's not an emergency?
You're welcome to dial the admin line, 520-803-3550, and talk to dispatch that way as well.
And that's for any kind of non-emergency things like, just questions even.
Yes, that is. And if it's a question we can't answer, then we'll definitely get some more information from you and put in a call for service and assign somebody to either call you back or meet with you to answer those questions.
All right, Tammy Jo, before you go, you are hiring. What is the hiring process? Where do they go? How can they get involved?
So please go to SierraVistaArizona.gov website. CCOM Public Safety Dispatcher Trainee is open, and we are accepting applications. This job, after training, pays $44,283 per year. But right now we've got a ton of overtime, so you'll be seeing a lot more of that in your paycheck at the end of the day. The training program can be up to 6 months. It's all on the job. You don't require any pre-training to come on board with us. We will have a testing process after your application. We put you through what we call as our CritiCall. We'll test your data entry skills. After that, you'll be given a background packet. You'll be asked to complete the background packet. You'll get a oral board. You'll be invited for a sit-in to dispatch to make sure it's really what you want to do. And then if you pass all of that, you go through a voice stress analysis and a psych exam and a hearing test and a drug test, and then you're all mine. So I'd be really excited if we could fill up the house before summer.
All right, give us that web address one more time.
SierraVistaAZ.gov for CCOM Public Safety Dispatcher Trainee.
And we really appreciate what CCOM and what you do for our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today.
And Carol, how do they get a hold of us at the Sheriff's Office?
Reach out at Cochise County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Mark J. Daniels. That's going to be our social media Facebook. And there you have links to our Instagram and our X account. Also give us a call, 520-432-9500. And if you have something you want to report, just email sheriffstips@cochise.az.gov.
First Watch on